a ton of people struggle with getting their dogs in the car up and down the stairs. So these types of exercises help the dog understand how to use their body, because everyone's like, oh, my dog can jump in the car. And they're like, I don't really know how to.
Welcome to the Dog Sense Podcast,
where we believe that you should have a dog that everyone loves to be around.
I'm Kathy Santo.
And I'm Sarah Bayless.
And together, we have more than 30 years of experience and have trained tens of thousands of dogs.
Each week, we're pulling back the curtain on real-life behavior and training challenges that we hear from our students. We'll give you easy and effective solutions so that you can have the same success with your dog
or puppies
training.
After this episode is over, if you want to learn more, head over to my website, kathysantodogtraining.com. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dog Sense. I'm your host, Kathy Santo, and I'm here with my co-host all the way in Colorado, where it's not yet snowing, Sarah.
Hey guys, we are super happy we have Nikki joining us again, one of the trainers from the school.
Hello.
And today's topic, we are going to be doing puppy fitness.
Ooh. All right, pump and iron for puppies. Well, not really. Well,
Yes,
maybe
a little bit.
Yeah.
I love puppy fitness. I think it's one of the most fun classes that I teach, not only because I think it's awesome to see the puppies at work, but I think the biggest thing that I see that helps the dogs is a sense of accomplishment of doing something new with the owner. So what we mean by that is getting your puppy on a different surface. We use almost similar to like Bosu balls that have little sensory nubs on it. And some dogs are like, I can't put my paw on it. And then you put a little cookie on and then they put one paw and they're like, wait, this is cool. Yeah. And you see them go from one rep of being extremely reluctant to put their paws on anything. And then they're flying over it and then they're sitting on it and they're like, oh, I can balance. Look at me, mom. And you can see them actually be so much more confident with what they're doing.
Remember that movie when Helen Keller learned the word water? Yeah. And she was communicating. She was like,
very similar.
I'll communicate. They're learning how to learn. Yeah. And they're learning that when they do something, you'll do something for them. It's awesome.
I also like puppy fitness for, besides the confidence, what it teaches the dogs physically is their proprioception. So a ton of people struggle with getting their dogs in the car up and down the stairs. So these types of exercises help the dog understand how to use their body, because everyone's like, oh, my dog can jump in the car. And they're like, I don't really know how to. So getting them used to doing certain things like that. I specifically use a ladder for that reason and create a little bit of a stair step. So that way it's mimicking what dogs can't do. And then they're like, oh, got it. This is how I use my body in this way to do so.
And I think with that, just to dissect it a little bit, getting into the car, I think it's a problem because people are asking their dog to get to the seat, right? They should be targeting the floor because that's lower. And then from the floor, they can get on the seat. I'm sure there's bigger dogs who can just zip right in, but the majority of them need to be shown how to get into that floor and then onto the seat and then into their crate or seatbelt.
Right. And a lot of times with the jumping in the car thing too, because that's a super common, the really applicable one for the puppies, is sometimes they are physically capable, right? They're big enough, but it is like Nikki had talked about, it's a confidence thing. It's a mental block. We know that the dog can jump. We know they can jump on the couch, right? We know they can jump on the bed. Don't tell your dog trainer that, but we know they can do all those things. So guess what? Most likely we know physically they can jump in that darn car, but they don't have the mental confidence to be able to problem solve and work through that stuff. So that is another awesome, like the canine gym stuff, when they're working on surfaces, all that stuff is super awesome to build their confidence and then get them ready to do all those kind of life skills that we may need them to.
Can we just pause and say, is it the UPS man or is it Matt coming home?
It might be Matt. Should we pause for a sec? Hold on.
No. This is great. Now, guys, see, we have dogs and they bark and they're alerting us, and you have to look what's inside the range of normal, right? So if her dogs were now at the window, body slamming, trying to get in and losing their mind, that would be a problem. But Sarah is currently in her house by herself. If I were her, I'd want my dogs to bark when somebody walks in the door. Eventually, they're going to realize Matt, who is part of her family. But for now, this is appropriate. If she, God forbid, had an infant who was sleeping, probably wouldn't work so well for her. But it's what she has now. So yeah, listen, guys, this is real life dog training.
Real life dog training, unfortunately.
Yeah, we want you to know that even the dogs we have challenges or behave in a way that we've asked them to, and it might not be the way everybody else wants your dog to behave.
Yep. And that is my old guy too. So I can't even tell him to be quiet because he can't actually hear me because he's old. So he's lost his hearing. So he'll quiet down in a sec.
That's Jake.
That's Jake. Well, everyone else is created, right? So they're not able to look out the window or preventing the rehearsal of behavior. But Jakey gets to hang out in the back hallway. And when he hears certain things, he does start barking because he's old and senile.
He has senior privileges.
Senior privileges, exactly. When we talk about this stuff, people, they want to be able to do it at home. Maybe they don't have access to get to classes with us. What are your favorite kind of at-home equipment to use that people can start to do some of this stuff with their puppy?
Great question. I love toilet paper and paper towel rolls that are still in the plastic.
Nice.
I tell people that make sure it's still in the plastic because I tell people that sometimes and they start laughing. They're like, well, they're actually pulling the toilet paper off of the roll most of the time. So how am I supposed to use it? I'm like, no. And it's still in its package. So you can rock with those two things. I like rolled up yoga mats, bath towels. You can dedicate an old pillow cushion that you don't mind getting your dog's paws on. Right. But listen, you don't even have to buy anything. You don't even have to create anything. I'm sure you have a step somewhere. I'm sure there's a rock outside, right? Some type of stair. Those are all the things that you can do. I even have people who use like old textbooks.
Yep, exactly.
Get their paws on things or what's it called? It's like
a saucepan. A phone book.
No, not a phone book, but like a saucepan something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even the dog's food bowl flipped upside down can be used to start to teach paws up.
Yeah. Just make sure it's not like on anything carpet. Slippery. Yeah. Right. You can also get duct tape and put it over the top of something like that so their feet have a little bit of traction. Tuna fish cams.
And I think the goal we kind of forgot to say is that when dogs do put their paws on something, it does add about 70% of the weight onto their rear. So dogs move forward. They only know to move forward. They don't really even understand that they have a rear. So from a young age, we're making them aware of their body and not only aware of it, but help to strengthen up those muscles and joints back there as well, which do prevent injuries down the line. And more than anything, it helps get your dog mentally and physically tired. So it's always good to throw in a little bit of paws up, getting their front feet on things, getting their back feet on things, and their whole body on things. But what it's also really doing for them is understanding this mind and body connection, which is super tiring for the dog.
And I think that some puppy owners, not every day can they walk their puppy. Right. Maybe the dog's in a fear period. Right. Maybe the dog pulls a lot. Maybe they have something going on in the neighborhood, or it's snowing, or it's raining, or it's whatever. And they're like, how do I get my puppy the exercise? Well, you can potty them really quick outside the house and bring them inside. And you can create this gym in your living room.
Yeah.
And you're also developing a relationship. That's what this is, right? So the leash isn't the relationship, nor is the collar. It's the bond you have through training. And this counts, whether it's trick training or fitness training. It all is a part of it.
And it's just a good way to get their heart rate up. I think so, because a lot of dogs, whether they just go for the walk, right? That's a good physical idea, but you do so much more for them when you're making them think about what's earning me the treat and where my body is. That's tiring.
Yeah, that problem solving stuff, right? Them trying to, because a lot of times we're luring for these position changes, right? So they have to figure out how to follow that lure. It's an exercise for the owners too, to be aware of how their body language when they're interacting with the dog. Like if they put too much spatial pressure forward, the dog backs off, right? But if they step to the side, they play with where their hand placement is for the cookie lure. They can then create so much more movement with the dog. If you're teaching pivoting, you're trying to get front paws on something, back paws on something. It's a mental exercise for the owners and also the puppies.
Well, you think of the way they play with their puppy now is they're throwing things, right? Or they're pulling on things. Those are really big skills. But when you move a cookie really slowly at the right angle, right at the right level, that's harder. And so they're learning and the puppy's learning. So they'll both be tired by the time
it's kind of like driving a car for the first time. It's a little awkward at first.
On the wrong side of the road. Actually, at least it's better on the wrong side of the road. Terrifying.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right? That's another episode.
All right, guys. So do we want to go over kind of like what would be maybe our top 3 exercises and maybe what an example session could look like for owners to practice at home with their puppies?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would start to focus on is maybe not taking. Picking is what I was trying to say. Picking up equipment that's maybe a little bit too scary, too quick. So I would stick with maybe like a foam platform, the same type of things that they use at the gym. And I would work front feet on first, and then try to see if you can get their whole body on. And then from there, maybe just their back feet on it. So you're having them feel different targets of what's on the floor and what's on the item from there. And then what was the follow-up question, Sarah?
kind of what could be an example session? Like if they wanted to spend 5-10 minutes working on this with their puppy one day, it's raining out, what could be an example session that they could do with their puppy?
How many reps of that? So let's say you're doing foam platform and you want front feet. How many reps would you do?
I would probably do anywhere from 3 to 5 reps, release them off, give them a break. The one thing that's important about puppy fitness or working with any type of fitness equipment with any age of dogs is knowing when they're tired. Yep. And they can't tell you, hey, this was a lot of reps. I need a little bit of a break. They can't tell you that. So you want to be a little bit proactive. I would keep it on the lesser side of reps, maybe 3 reps if it's a puppy, release off, do some spin, and then get back to it in a few minutes. Only because they can't tell you, hey, I'm tired. One of the things that's a really good telltale sign is that if the dog's feet are elevated, or like actually, let's say they're on 2 pieces of equipment. So their front feet are on something and their back feet are on something else. Front feet on something, back feet on something else. Sometimes they'll drop their rear. And what they're trying to do is alleviate the pressure from their core and on their front, because they're saying it's a lot of weight to carry, right? So they show you different signs, and they might also topple over at some point. Right. A lot of times dogs really, really enjoy these exercises. So they want to keep going. Right. They can say, hey, I'm getting a little tired. I'm just going to lay down. Some dogs might want to keep going. So you want to facilitate those breaks. So I would definitely keep the reps short and sweet and give them breaks before they even show you those signs of exhaustion.
And I would get a list, and I would maybe I'd even make index cards with 2 or 3 things, right? Yeah. So I'd set it up. My puppy would be in the crate and resting. And I put my foam pad out. And then maybe I'd put whatever else I'm going to use, right? And then I get the puppy, take them outside, potty them, have my pre-cut up high value treats. I'd set my timer. Me, I'd have my camera. I'd be videoing the session. I'd be on the floor and I'd go through it and I'd do 2 or 3 and then we play, maybe do spin and then do the other, whatever I'm going to do, 2 or 3 of those and then break and just I'm an overtrainer, as you all know. So I had to set the timer for like 5 minutes, maybe 7 and make sure there's enough play breaks and then done. You're done. Potty the puppy again, a little bit of water, maybe crate, maybe with something to chew on, decompress, right? And then you go review the video. And once you get past that shirt looks horrible, blah, 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 and you focus on the dog, you're going to notice your mechanics and say, oh, I see. I was holding it up. That's why I kept getting the sit. And then just make notes. So, for next time you don't do the same things wrong.
One of the things that Kathy mentioned that I wanted to kind of piggyback off of is the level of treat. If you're doing something scary with your dog, like having them feel a different texture in puppy fitness, we not only work with the pieces of equipment, but we work on heights as well as different surfaces, like an X pen that's flipped over. So some dogs feel comfortable putting their paws on things that are a soft surface area. If there's a little bit of instability involved, or there's a little bit of height involved, they might feel like, I don't want this with my, kibble that you gave me for breakfast. This is where we might have to move to a little bit of cheese or something a little bit stinkier. You have to find what's valuable for your dog specifically. So that way there's a little bit of motivation to do something scary for the first time.
And I remember, Sarah, it was early 2020 when all this stuff happened. I got a big box and I cut down the sides, and Ray was a puppy and I had like 10 empty 2-liter bottles in it. And I scattered food and some cut up chicken. And I had her walking through this and picking through the bottles. And it was like crackle. And it was unstable surfaces, but it gave her a really good experience of weird sounds and courage and working through something to get her food. So things like that even counts. It's not a formal pause up, but it is proprioception and coordination.
One other thing that this also helps with is I get a ton of people, puppies, older dogs. My dog won't walk over a grate. They won't walk on beaches, things like that. So what we're trying to do is prep them for a situation where maybe there's a situation and you need to down right where that grate is. And otherwise you may walk through some glass, whatever it is. You want to make sure that your puppy feels confident and not only be able to walk across it, but possibly commit to commands on something that it's not the most pleasant surface, or it looks scary. There's negative
that relationship, right?
Yeah.
The relationship.
Like, okay, you got me. You got me. You want me to down on this?
You asked me to do it. I know it's safe.
Yep. All right, guys. Anything else you want to touch on with the puppy fitness?
I think so. I think the most important thing to take out of it is that if you can join us for puppy fitness, I think that's a great way to play with some of the fancy stuff, but it's totally accomplishable to practice this at home. One thing that we forgot to mention is, I think I did actually mention it in the beginning, but I'm sure if you have some type of house. There's a ladder. There's a ladder somewhere. I went to an in-home and the puppy had a hard time going up and down the stairs. And he was a little bit older, like he was able to.
Right.
And him doing the ladder within our first in-home session made him able to do the stairs.
Let me just clarify. She doesn't mean the ladder is against the wall.
Yes. No, it's on the floor. It's on the floor.
It's horizontal.
It's horizontal.
Laying on the floor. And if it has
it's not scaling the house with the ladder, like a Malinois.
If the ladder has like any like bars on it, it's upside down. It is as flat as it could be. It's on the flattest side, right? Because then some people put the ladder up and it's like 6 inches tall and their puppy is 4 inches tall. And then the puppy is like hitting the The common sense wins the day. We are not scaling dogs on ladders on buildings. That's
correct.
Spider dog is it'll be a coming episode.
There you go. All right, guys. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you'd like, rate, subscribe, tell a friend, and share this episode with people who need to hear it. Our mission with this podcast is to continue creating an awesome community of dog lovers and learners. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Dog Sense. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to do that now. And if you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you'd rate and review the podcast. This lets the platform know that we're doing something right and that people like the content. It would be a huge help, and we'd be super grateful if you did. Be sure to head over to kathysantodogtraining.com and grab our current freebie. We create new ones all the time based on what our students want and need. Until next time, happy training.